In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve the number one thing that kills your productivity, that takes the amount of work you're able to put out and reduces it even though you're working an equivalent number of hours because you allow this problem. This is the number one problem, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve it. I'm Caleb Jones, and this is Alpha Male 2.0. And I make a multi-six-figure location-independent income while dating multiple attractive women, and I show men like you how to do the same thing. And not only do I make a high income, but if I wanted to, I've said this many times and it's true, if I wanted to, and I choose not to do this, but I have the choice, if I wanted to, I could cut back my work hours to approximately 15 hours per week and still maintain that high six-figure income. I could work all day Monday. I could work, 11, 10-hour day, 12-hour day on Monday, work most of the day Tuesday, and take the rest of the week off and do that for the rest of my life, and I would have no dip in income. Some people would be pissed off. Some people would be inconvenienced. I would get some complaints, but I would still make the money more or less. The Alpha Male 2.0 business model means you make at least $75,000 a year, location independent, and it only takes 30 hours or less per week to maintain that income. As I've said numerous times, it makes no sense to have to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week every week for the rest of your life in order to maintain your lifestyle. That's stupid. And the only way you're going to pull that off is to be good at time management. By the way, the only way to pull off dating multiple women all at the same time is also to be reasonably good at time management. I have dated multiple women, 2 or more, usually much more than 2, including now, for the last 14 years of my life, while building and maintaining this business empire that doesn't take me a lot of time to maintain if I choose it. The only way I'm able to do all these things is by being good at time management. And as many of you know, I am a business consultant. I've been doing some sort of consulting in some form or another for over 25 years now. Specifically, I've been a time management consultant, productivity consultant for about 17 years or so. I've worked with literally hundreds of companies all over the world, including large Fortune 500 companies. I've coached with a lot of people. I've been around the block and I know my stuff, and I live the lifestyle of maximum productivity in terms of time management, and I teach that lifestyle. So I'm kind of immersed in this world in terms of time management. The number one problem in terms of limiting your productivity, assuming you're actually doing the work, so let me give you an aside here really quick. If you're not productive because you're not doing the work, because you're lazy or unmotivated or you're a pussy, that's another scenario, and I've done many videos on that. Not talking about that today. I'm talking today about you actually doing the work and maximizing the results for the work that you do. The only way to make high income on low hours per week, or to date multiple women all at the same time and make that work without having it take over your life, which is what happens to a lot of guys in the manosphere, pickup artist worlds when they date multiple women. The only way to pull that off is to have the time you spend working, either in your business life or your woman life, to be very effective and very productive. And the number one thing that kills that when you are putting in the work is distractions and interruptions, which are kind of the same thing. I'm going to give you some real statistics, okay? These are real facts from real studies that have been verified multiple times by multiple studies all over the world. I'm going to give you 3 data points to remember. Number 1, it takes you 23 minutes and 15 seconds on average to recover from an interruption in your work. So when you're immersed in your work and you're in that flow state, you're working and you're focused and you're getting shit done. If something interrupts you, if your phone goes off and you have to respond to a text, if you work at home and your wife or your girlfriend or one of your kids walks in and bugs you, if you're at the office and one of your employees or your boss knocks on the door and bugs you, if the phone rings and you got to pick it up, if the phone rings and you don't pick it up, if there's a loud noise outside, that counts. Any sort of interruption, any sort of distraction, when they occur, it will take you a full, on average, 23 minutes and 15 seconds, let's just say 23 minutes, for you to get back to the same level of productivity you had before you had that interruption. See, you think that interruptions just take a second, you get right back to work. That's not how that works. The interruption may take a second or 5 seconds, but it damages your productivity for 23 minutes. That means you don't want interruptions. That's how bad interruptions are. Now, let me give you the second data point. The typical person in a work environment, and they haven't done a lot of studies yet on people who work out of their homes in a post-pervasive sickness world, but if you live with multiple people and or you have cell phones and computers and other things like that, this also applies. In a typical work environment, you are interrupted once every 11 minutes. Once every 11 minutes. Which means, if you think about it, you never get past that point of maximum productivity. Here's the third data point. Even if you do, you will spend approximately 1/3 of your entire workday recovering from direct interruptions. Not distractions so much, but interruptions. 1/3 of your workday at a minimum, and I think that's being very generous. So your productivity is being absolutely fucking murdered by you being interrupted by your work. And let me be clear, interruptions don't have to be human beings. A lot of you guys are saying right now, well, I work alone and I live alone, so I don't have interruptions. Wrong. Your cell phone can interrupt you. Your computer can interrupt you for pop-ups and email notifications, Skype notifications. You guys who use co-working apps, noises outside, people knocking on your door. There's all kinds of possibilities in terms of interruptions. It doesn't have to be a physical human being who walks into your room. It could also be as simple as if you live in an apartment and someone makes loud noises in the apartment over. Someone's having sex next to you, or banging on the walls, or banging on the ceiling, or what have you. It can even be something like, for example, I recently had this experience when I was in Miami 2 weeks ago. You're working away and suddenly you just smell weed. You smell marijuana smoke because the person in the next apartment is out on the porch, out on the deck, smoking it up. That counts as an interruption. So don't think for a minute that, well, I work alone and I live alone, I don't have any interruptions. Wrong, wrong, wrong. You do. You are a victim of this, and it's your job to minimize this. One more thing about this, because this is a sense of a lot of confusion a lot of people have. Interruptions damage your workflow and damage your productivity, even if you think the interruption was a good idea. So a lot of guys will say, yeah, I had an interruption, but it was my wife. I mean, she has to let me know it was an important thing about such and such in our lives. Or, yeah, I had an interruption, but it's my daughter. I mean, she's kind of a priority. I mean, she's my kid, Caleb. I mean, you can't just say no to your daughter. Or, yes, I had an interruption. It's my biggest client. My biggest client who, is responsible for 70% of my income. He called me and I'm on call and I got to answer the phone when he calls. And so I had to do... Fuck off! The reason for the interruption doesn't change any of the data points I just gave you. Even if you think the interruption is a great fucking idea, that is not an excuse. It still damages your productivity, and therefore it is your job to minimize distractions and interruptions from all sources. All sources, including your boss, including your biggest client, including your wife or your girlfriend, especially if you're monogamous, you betas, including children if you live with kids, including everything else, including your phone. Here's another thing. When I talk about things like soft nexting women, when you do a soft next and you leave the woman's place or you separate from her, and what I say is when you leave the place, she's gonna probably call you or text you a million times when you walk out on her. What you have to do is put your phone on silent and turn it face down in the car as you drive away and ignore your phone for about an hour. And I will have guys who tell me, I've literally had this several times, well, I can't turn off my phone for an hour. I'm on call 24/7 and I work. I have to be available all the time for work. If you can't turn off your phone for an hour at night, if you don't have that ability because you work, you have a massive lifestyle problem. You have a serious life problem that you need to fix immediately. That is the opposite of long-term freedom. That is the opposite of long-term happiness, and is certainly the opposite of Alpha Male 2.0. And hilariously, you who can't turn off your phone for an hour because you work probably make less money than me. And I can turn off my phone for an entire day if I wanted to. And I have, and I sometimes do. So don't bullshit yourself or try to bullshit me with your excuses about how you can't do certain things. You can't say no to your wife. You can't turn off your phone. You have to answer your phone if it's your biggest client. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 steps you can take to minimize these distractions, including from those sources. Just don't bullshit yourself about this, and don't give yourself a bunch of excuses as to why you think these interruptions are somehow valid. I don't care if they're valid. They're murdering your productivity and they're murdering your life, because time is the essence of life. As I've talked about in my books, The Unchained Man in particular at alphamalebook.com, time is the only resource you have that you cannot get more of. If you lose money, you can make more money. If your girlfriend or wife leaves you, you can always go get another girlfriend or wife. If your kids turn out to be assholes, you can always make more kids. You're a guy. We don't have a biological clock. If you lose your job, you can get another job. If you go out of business, you can start a new business. But if someone wastes your time, if you lose a day, an hour, a week, you can never get that back. Never. There's no way to do it. Sorry, there isn't. So you have to be very, very, very protective of your time. So I'm going to give you the top 5 techniques on how you can minimize both interruptions and distractions to make sure you are focused on your work and to make sure that your work provides the maximum bang for your buck so you don't have to work hard the rest of your life. Number 1 is to disable all noises and flashes on all electronic devices. I've talked about this before when I do free webinars. Those of you who have done my free webinars, I always bring up a slide that says you need to focus on this webinar, turn off your phone, silence your phone, disable your Skype notifications and all those things. And then I go on to say, I do this anyway. My phone is right here. Okay, this is my phone. This phone is silenced most of the day. Almost all the notifications for all the apps on this phone are disabled, and I don't have any social media apps on this phone. I don't have a Facebook app, I don't have an Instagram app, I don't have a Twitter app, I don't have any of that stuff. If I want to access those things, I will use my browser and go to those pages when I want. I don't want this phone going off all day. I don't want this phone flashing all day. And that's another point. It's not just about noise, it's also about that flashing light. So if you disable the noise, but then someone sends you a text or a WhatsApp or what have you, and your phone starts flashing, you're going to go, there's going to be a mental need for you, right, to get that dopamine rush to answer that goddamn phone or check to see who it is, right? Blackberries in the early 2000s have poisoned us. Before the early 2000s, before the advent of the Blackberry, when you got an email, it just went into your computer and you didn't give a shit about it till you got back to your office. Then Blackberries came out, and all of a sudden those same emails that weren't urgent at all suddenly became urgent because it made that light flash or that beep on that Blackberry, so you suddenly had to check your email. What was the difference? There is no difference. No difference whatsoever. This is the scenario where technology actually poisons you, and I am a pro-technology person. I can't wait to be a cyborg and replace my lungs and my heart with nanobots and all that good shit. I can't wait to do that stuff. I am pro-tech, but I'm also objective, and I know when technology fucks people up. What I think is hilarious in the advent of the cell phones is that whenever you land in a plane, about 1/4 of all the people on the plane, as soon as the plane lands and as soon as the people say you can turn your cell phones on, they immediately pull out their cell phones and they call whoever and they say, hi there, just let you know that we landed. Yeah, we landed and we're taxiing and we landed, so we landed, just let you know that we landed. Okay, we landed. Okay, thanks, see you in 2 minutes. Before there were cell phones, do you think that 1/4 of the people on that plane ran off the plane over to the payphones, put in a quarter, and dialed someone and said, hey, just let you know that I landed. Yeah, I landed. Just let you know for no reason that I landed. No. Because the cell phone is there, it calls to you. You have to resist this. You have to turn off all the notifications you can. You have to not install all the apps you can. If you have to have apps, you disable those apps and you leave it on silent. That also applies to your computer, your laptop, what have you. If you have Skype notifications or what have you, turn those off. If you have email, those email things that pop up in the lower right-hand corner, disable those goddamn things. Don't use anything that bugs you while you work. That's insanity. That is the 23-minute kill of your productivity. Disable all that stuff, both noises and flashing lights on all electronic devices that you use. And again, by the way, if you give me a bunch of excuses, but I have to have this thing flashing because of X, Y, and Z, just realize that you're damaging yourself. I don't care. I don't give a shit about your life. Do whatever you want. You want to hurt yourself and you want to make it so you're never productive, go right ahead. You'll never be as happy as me, but go ahead. Make all the excuses you want. I'm just letting you know these are excuses. Number 2, this is a technique to reduce distractions. You want to create as minimalist an office as you can. What do I mean by that? That means that you don't want to be the typical person where you have a desk and a computer and papers and paper clips and toys and transformers and a My Little Pony on there and Post-its all over the walls and calendars on the walls and notes stuck up on the walls and pictures on the walls and all this crap all over your office, papers, magazines, the books you haven't read yet stacked up over in a corner. When you look in terms of your field of vision of what you're staring at, it should be just your monitor, your keyboard, and your mouse. Maybe 1 or 2 other objects, and that's it. You want to be as minimalist as you can. You don't want a lot of stuff in your field of vision because that's a distraction. And the odds of you being distracted by something go up. Also, and they've done studies on this, the more stuff that you're constantly looking at, the less focused you will tend to be. So you want to be as minimalist as you can in terms of your workspace and your office. Again, I do this anyway. You should just make this a habit. Technique number 3, and this is something that is one of those obvious things, but no one fucking does it. And that is to every night when you're done working, remove all the clutter and the bullshit that you were working on that day, get it off your desk so the next morning you have a clean desk. You have a clear desk. You should have a debrief period with yourself at the end of every workday. I do, where you go through the day, you map out what you did wrong, what you did right. I have a whole procedure for this that I follow, and then you clear off your desk and you clear off your entire work area. If there was stuff you were working on, hard paperwork or objects or notebooks or pens or other pieces of equipment maybe you were doing a podcast and you have the microphone set up and you have other electronic pieces of equipment or batteries or whatever, clear that off your desk so that tomorrow morning when you sit down with your work area, that's nice and clear and you just get to work. Your brain is not distracted. Very important. Item number 4, and this is something no one ever does. People forget about this. Always exert 100% control over all noise. The noise that goes into your ears is 100% within your control. I know that's a shock to you, but it is. I don't care. Well, Caleb, I live in downtown Manhattan. It's noisy. Well, I live with 7 other people. I'm a Mexican and I have a big family and I live with my mom and my dad and my 14 brothers and I've heard all the fucking excuses. Let me show you what you can do. I'm going to blow your mind. You ready for this? You're going to be shocked. You see these? These are called headphones. You can buy these for as much as $30. This is an expensive pair. This is about $300 because they're noise canceling. I recommend these too if you can afford them. Again, do whatever makes sense to your budget. Put on the headphones while you work if you work in a noisy environment. And have something playing in the headphones so that you can't hear anything else. I use these all the time. I travel with these. These are the Bose, I don't know what they're called. They're pretty obvious. There's black ones and there's silver ones, about $300. They're one of the best noise canceling headphones on the market. When you put these on, you can't hear anything. It's fucking great. I wear these on the plane. I wear these when I work at airports. I wear these when I go to a Starbucks or a library or a public place to work. And I can't hear shit. It's great. Now, what should you play in your headphones if you need to block out sound? You got 2 options. Option 1 is you play music that has no lyrics, that has no singing. Or if it does have singing, singing in another language. So you can't tell what they're saying. You don't want lyrics because those go right in your subconscious mind. That becomes another distraction. So you don't want lyrics while you're working, ideally. Now, I know some people like listening to music with lyrics while they work. I think that's not the best. I think you should have music playing that doesn't have lyrics, or if you want singing, you've got to have singing, play it in some language you don't know. That's option 1. Option 2 is white noise. White noise sounds like this. It just sounds like that. It sounds like one of those old TVs with the snow on it. You can download white noise MP3 files on the internet for free. I always have one on my phone and my laptop. These connect to both my phone and my laptop. They're Bluetooth. And often I'll just have white noise going in there. So I can't hear a thing. I love it. It's fantastic. If you work in a noisy environment, control the noise. Being interrupted by loud noises is not an excuse. You can control your environment. Now, obviously, if you can't afford $300 for a pair of headphones, you can buy a cheap, shitty pair of headphones for $7, right? You can put earbuds in there, whatever. Do whatever works. Now, that's just one example. You can also work somewhere else. If you work in a noisy apartment building or on a noisy street, or you live with a bunch of people, grab your laptop, grab your headphones if you need to, and go to a Starbucks. Cerveza sickness restrictions notwithstanding. Go to a library. Go to a cheap restaurant where you can order a drink or something. We don't have to pay a lot of money. And work there. I do that semi-regularly. I work in a public place, put on my headphones, and I just work there. Nice and quiet. It's great. And there's no wife/girlfriend/children to interrupt me. I'm a family man, or at least I was. I raised 2 kids. I was married with children. They're grown now. I'm married today. So I can still manage all these things. Living with other human beings is not an excuse. Control the noise in your environment. By the way, if you want a productivity hack, you can click this video here. I give you some other productivity tips in that video. Check it out. I think you'll like it. Also, by the way, if you like this content, if you find it helpful, you've got to do something. You need to subscribe to this channel. You need to click the dumb notification bell. You need to like this video, and you need to leave a comment. Even if you disagree with me, The more interactivity I get on this content on these platforms, the more content I will provide on these platforms. I'm kind of busy. I'm a good time management guy, but I am still pretty busy. I got a lot on my plate, so I have to be very choosy about where I spend my time. So if I see a lot of interactivity on this content, I'll give you more of this content here. If I don't, I'm gonna have to cut back. Very, very simple. So number 5, and this is the best technique. This is the best one. I said the best for last. Number 5, use do not disturb time. What does that mean? That means that you set aside a block of time per day, either every day or most work days. It could be for an hour, it could be for 2 hours, it could be for 4 hours. You can decide how long it is. You can do one in the morning and one in the evening, or one in the morning, one in the afternoon, or one long one in the afternoon, or just the morning. You can decide when you do this and for how long it is. And that is a time where no one is allowed to disturb you. Fuck off! Now that falls into 2 categories, both people you live with, for those of you who live with other humans, and those of you who you don't live with, but who bug you a lot. So I am married, I live with Pink Firefly, normally. I'm traveling right now, I'm in Paraguay. But when I live with Pink Firefly, I have do not disturb times where she is not allowed to come talk to me for any reason whatsoever, unless, here's the one exception I give people, someone is bleeding or dying. If someone is bleeding or dying, then you can bug me. So between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., my wife cannot come talk to me. She is not allowed. And no one can call me. I silence my phone and I put it face down. If anyone calls me during my do not disturb time, guess what? I don't answer it. Now, I don't answer my phone ever anyway. I just don't answer my phone anymore. I let it go to voicemail. But if someone texts me, if someone emails me, if someone contacts me, I am not getting around to it until well after do not disturb time. Because do not disturb time is the time for you to work and to focus. So if you live with other people, or God forbid you work in an office with other people, you need to set up do not disturb times where no one can bother you, including your boss. For those of you who have jobs, why do you have a job? Quit your job and start your business. What are you doing? That includes your wife or live-in girlfriend if you have one of those. That includes your kids. That includes your MLTRs and FBs who text you all the fucking time. That includes your biggest client or your big customers you're really nervous about. It includes everybody. No one is allowed to disturb you during do not disturb time. Now, if this concept just terrifies you and you're just, oh my God, but they have to, then start with 1 hour. Start with 1 hour a day. Maybe right after lunch, like from 1 to 2. From 1 to 2, a very short window of time where no one can disturb you, and try that out. And then what you should do, here's an extra added bonus, take your most productive, most important work, which is usually IW work, that is improvement work as opposed to SW work, which is the work you have to do. Take your most important improvement work that improves your income, and put it into do not disturb time. That would be creative time, marketing time, expansion time, innovation time. Put that into your do not disturb time. It's awesome. You will get so much work done when you have do not disturb time. Most of my day is do not disturb time. Most of my day, both in terms of my wife and people who can call me. It works. It will work for you. Trust me, you don't want interruptions while you work. That is a surefire way to live a lifestyle of lots of work with lower income. You don't want to do that. Or at bare minimum, lots of money, but lots of work. I would rather you make lots of money and have a small amount of work. Doesn't that make more sense to you? It makes more sense to me. Think about this, do that, implement that in your life. In the meantime, you can watch this video here on what you can expect when you actually set goals. I give you some real examples from my life. I will see you in the next video. Bye.